The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Just Dylan J. Schlender presiding. Your eyes for the Honorable Judge Schlender.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we are hearing the case of The People versus Masters of the Universe, a 1987 action fantasy that sees the heroes of Eternia sent to modern-day Earth where they are pursued by the minions of the villainous Skeletor. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings...
I thought Skeletor was a guy.
What? I'm missing something.
Villainess. Never mind. We'll cut it.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Did you say, villainess instead of villainess? You see, Schlenzo.
Very clever.
I didn't even know those are two different words. All right.
Yes, you did.
Let's just say...
We'll cut that.
Okay. Here we go. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, damn it. As always in this courtroom, films are to be considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Maynard Bangs, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Easy for you to say, Your Honor. Fuck, we're all fucked. We're all fucked today.
It's just been a week.
Do you guys want to just take it from the top? I feel like that might be better for
everyone. You want me to tag team? I could be one of the judges.
Fail forward.
I also agree with failing forward. So let's just try it. It's He-Man, doing the things that he can. Is that redundant? No, it's not. It's He-Man. Is he a he or is he a she? You know goddamn well that he's a he. So why are you asking problematically? It's not redundant. It's He-Man. Rubber Skull Man really hates He-Man. The two have a fight. He-Man wins. Rubber Skull Man. The Beast Man, doing the things that Beast Man can, except in this movie, when he didn't, the Beast Man. Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you, I guess. All right. Representing the defense is Mr. Case Aiken. Please present your opening statement.
Look. Everyone loves to dunk on Masters of the Universe for what it doesn't have. It doesn't have sprawling Eternia. It's missing key characters. It doesn't have the visual scope the property quote-unquote deserves. But here's the reality. It wasn't a blockbuster with unlimited resources. This was a scrappy production fighting uphill at every level. Budget, studio interference, even losing money during the actual process of filming. So the question isn't, why isn't this a bigger, better blockbuster? The question is, given what they had, how much did they actually pull off? And the answer is way more than they get credit for.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Aiken. Mr. Bangs, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
All right, Your Honor. First, I'd like to trigger Case's trap card by saying,
why is this movie nothing like the Filmation series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe? Why isn't He-Man seen with his alternate identity Prince Adam and transforms into He-Man? And where's Orko, He-Man's mischievous and magical companion? How come Skeletor is such a dreary bore instead of the cackling psychopath that we fell in love with across 2 seasons, huh, Case?
Well, I will push up my glasses and respond with first off the number 22. I think that's an important number to know. 22 million was the budget on this movie, and even though this was the 1980s, that is not enough money to make a sprawling fantasy world the way that many fans would expect. Now, yes, they deviated in lots of key ways. Certain characters, Orko being one of them, that sure, lots of people feel would have been better served having in the movie in some way. But they were working with a very tight budget and trying to make the most of it at every step of the way. And things that they got, they got Frank Langella as Skeletor. Is he going to be different than the TV Skeletor? Yes. But is he going to be amazing? Also, yes.
Well, I'll go ahead and move over to Skeletor's performance. It makes me jump around a little, but I don't mind. I'm going to say I actually like Frank Langella's performance as whatever generic evil villain he was playing. You know, he even came up with some of his own dialogue. The line about the loneliness of good and evil, that's a good line, and Langella came up with it himself. It's a fine performance, but it isn't Skeletor. Now, putting aside the Filmation version, which is iconic, beloved, right? As I was mentioning earlier, this is not based on the Filmation series. This film is supposed to be based on the mini comics that came with the first line of He-Man figures that was released in 1982. So at that time, that's prior to the television series. So there is no Prince Adam. There is no Orko. There's none of those magical characters. So that's why a lot of them would not be included in this movie. But I want to talk about these mini comics a bit, because for anyone who saw the series, The Toys That Made Us, that was recommended to me by Schlenzo, the skinny on these mini comics is that they were kind of included as a last minute addition just in order to secure orders from Mattel's customers. They were kind of like, hey, well, Star Wars has the movies to get kids to buy. What do you have? And they're like, oh, we're going to put comics in the packages. Completely pulled that out of their ass and had to whip up comics at the last minute to include in all of the packages. And there are errors in there where allies of He-Man, like Stratos, are actually shown fighting against him. The point is, these comics, they're not canon. They're not sacred. They were literally pulp gibberish tossed together into this packaging of this Frank Frazetta ripoff just to sell these toys. So there's no real purist reason why anyone would go basing it on these comics. This isn't like some literature that, you know, this thing is adapting. You know, they're basing it on basically the boxes of the toys at the end of the day.
Case, would you like to respond to that? How faithful is this to the comics? Was that necessary? Would it hurt it? Did it help it?
I think that this movie was very clever in its approach to the mythos of He-Man. I mean, He-Man, let's be honest here, was a craven cash grab from the beginning, taking unused concepts for other toys such as Conan the Barbarian line and converting them into what became ultimately the He-Man line. You can see that they're just trying to sell something. This is the 80s, baby. This is sell. And this movie understood that while there is fandom, the game here was to sell. And so yes, they're taking a property that is generic fantasy and they are warping it into something kind of tangible in a movie. Because while the comics weren't canon, this movie was canon.
The comics are canon to the figure line. It's a canon. I don't know if it's kept in the mainstream canon.
I guess this question for the bench: is there an overarching Masters of the Universe canon that we would look at?
You're cutting me off while I'm trying to make a pun here about this being a canon group film.
Oh wow! Shame on you.
We will talk about canon films a bit today.
It's villainous all over again.
See, now we have to keep it
bad. Order in my court.
It's all good. Like what we're talking about here is a movie that is taking what is generic fantasy with and a weird mishmash of it all and trying to turn it into something that is somewhat palatable on a live action format. And I think that the movie did a really good job of alluding to it. It works just fine as a series finale to the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoons of the time.
Oh, I would disagree with that. They're nearly unrecognizable, and we can touch on more about why, but they're such wildly different worlds, just including the whole Prince Adam side thing, and including way too many missing key characters. If we're going to even try to pretend they're the same world, at least the creators of the film are saying, no, it's not. This is basically based entirely on just the toy line, they'd say, which it would be limited to basically the box art, right? But there are mini comics. So if you are looking for like a little bit of an arc, but it's not much one, Your Honor. It's Skeletor is evil. He wants 2 parts of the Sword of Power so he can get Castle Grayskull. And Beastman helps him and works with him, and as does at least one other villain, and that's the entire story. My problem is not that this thing is not married to either the Filmation canon or even necessarily, though I think that would have been the much wiser angle to go. That was an incredibly popular series. They sold, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of toys through that series. That's when the series really picked up, around Wave 3, when they introduced all of those characters from that series. So I think it's not that you have to be married to it, but it's stupid not to. It's stupid to try to go back to this pure version that's kind of just pictures on your toy art of He-Man riding tanks, not doing anything you see in this movie, by the way. He rides a jet-powered battering ram into battle. It's nothing but explosions and testosterone, and this movie is slow and boring. You could stare at a He-Man box and it is more thrilling than anything that happens in this movie. But one of the big things I want to talk about, because we've talked about the budget and why it doesn't include things, and the big thing that is not in this movie, and to me makes it so the movie shouldn't even exist, is there is no Battle Cat, his faithful steed. Now, even if you don't include Cringer, which is the companion in the Filmation series who can talk and he's friends with He-Man when they're kind of untransformed, He-Man always had Battle Cat by his side from the very beginning, from the very first toy. He's in the initial line. He-Man rides Battle Cat into battle. Now, not including him is like a Batman movie with both no Robin and no Batmobile. And let's not kid ourselves as to why he's not here. They can't afford it. They can't afford to make a Battle Cat, whether it's a real tiger that they color code or whether it's a great stop motion effect by like a Winston or a Harryhausen. They can't afford that for this movie. And I've got to say, if you have He-Man with no Battle Cat, he's just Conan. He's just a guy with a sword.
Let's let Case respond to Battle Cat, shall we?
Conan plus Battle Cat equals He-Man. I like it.
No, that does make a certain modicum of sense. But I mean, when you first brought up Battle Cat, my immediate response was, in what world was Battle Cat ever going to be in this movie? Because yes, budget, and also it was 1987. Like what? Like, yeah, sure, maybe we could speculate on a stop motion kind of thing, but otherwise, the conventions of a creature such as that in a movie would take years. What was it? Life
It would have been hard, but instead of having the sorceress as a captive, you could have had Battle Cat as the captive. You could have had him fighting Battle Cat at the beginning. Skeletor captures Battle Cat, and then he's stuck and trapped in a cell for half the movie till he's rescued at the end and he gets more ass kicking. You can save some money that way, but Battle Cat's a core part of the character to me.
While I don't disagree that Battle Cat is a core part of the main cast of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, I would argue that this movie, I mean, look, while it does function in some ways as a finale, in that it is the end of the whole battle and so forth, it also is kind of a side story. It's characters leaving the main setting of the whole series, and it's only a small group of them. It's not the overall the totality of the Masters of the Universe. We're only getting a couple members on a specific mission. This also goes for why we don't have to worry about Prince Adam. For the most part, he would just be He-Man this whole time. I love Battle Cat. I think Battle Cat is really goddamn cool.
Battle Cat's not on trial here.
At no point was I bothered by his omission.
Huh, okay. I am, and I hope the jury is too. But I will move on to this because you brought this up. This cheapskate budget of this movie also ends up taking this movie into the real world too. And that is a core idea from the beginning of the movie. Like as they were working on the script, they knew they could not afford to render Eternia they actually didn't want to show Eternia at all. And the director managed to talk into at least giving us that opening sequence with Eternia. They just always wanted to drop He-Man into the real world because it's cheaper. There's no other reason. There's nothing that we explore about He-Man coming to the real world. It's not like He-Man goes to a mall and learns something about human society at all. He does all the same regular He-Man shit against a real world backdrop that doesn't cost anything. It's not like he's a fish out of water even, that he's hitting cars with swords. We don't do any of those Thor gags like we did in Thor at all. He is just sort of slidered into this world because it's way cheaper. And it's real unfortunate too. And of course we pad out so much of the movie with Courtney Cox and her boyfriend, Courtney Cox, beautiful in this movie. Absolutely gorgeous in this movie, but she really didn't bring anything else to the table at this point in her career.
That's all she needs, baby.
Well, she was. But my problem, too, with moving this into the real world is these costumes already kind of look ridiculous, but they're just passable in the fantasy backdrop. When you're inside Castle Grayskull, and I'll ask that to the jury here, close your eyes and picture Castle Grayskull in this movie. I can't remember if there was a model, if there was a matte painting, but there's no impressive shot of Castle Grayskull with the big skull outside that I can remember. Maybe the jury can. I only remember the throne room inside. But the costumes look vaguely, they're passable against that backdrop. But against the real world where there's cars and dumpsters and stuff, they all look stupid as hell. Like even Man-at-Arms, who looks pretty cool most of this time, looks really dumb out of place like that.
All right, Case, I would like you to address the real world here. That's a pretty big part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that the real world is a controversial portion of this movie in terms of
it's most of the movie.
The whole movie.
but in terms of the dialogue that exists about this movie, it is certainly controversial that they chose to set it in this location. It's obvious. It's for the budget.
Yeah.
And I would argue that it doesn't necessarily by itself make this movie bad. While it may make this movie less of a quality adaptation of He-Man, it doesn't necessarily make this movie unredeemable in that regard. There are many stories about the origin of this movie. There's an apocryphal one that John Byrne tried to present, that this was originally an attempt at doing the fourth world, the New Gods from DC, and that they didn't get the rights to that and instead did He-Man. As far as I can tell, like I said, apocryphal, but a fan theory that exists because a prominent creator talked about it. Any fantasy setting could have done this basic plot. You could have done this around any sort. Thunder the Barbarian could have done the same exact thing. That part of it.
Yeah, he wouldn't have Battle Cat either.
The thing about that though is that all we're complaining about is, oh well, when we finally got a He-Man movie on screen, it was lacking these details, as opposed to necessarily noting if this made the movie a bad film by itself. And yes, the costumes look strange in this world, but there is an element of that being kind of on purpose. They're supposed to be juxtaposed against the real world. Now, could they have looked better?
Sure. For a humorous effect?
I mean, there's humorous effects there. Like we do deal with culture shock with it. There's the whole situation about them eating meat and being horrified about the culture clash right there. Like there's jokes put in, even if they don't all land 100%. Again, like we have to remember the bar that this movie is being held to. This is not an MCU high budget film. This is one step up from a Troma movie.
All right, Mr. Bangs, if you'd like to proceed to your next exhibit or redirect anything Case just said.
No, I'll proceed because I've got plenty. Because I agree with Case. That one thing probably wouldn't be enough to sink this movie. Luckily, I've got lots of others, and all together they sink this movie.
Oh, let's hear it.
Now, let's talk about He-Man. Now, this is Dolph Lundgren's first movie after Rocky V, and I know studios were hoping they had like Rocky IV. That's what I said.
Yep.
3, sir.
I heard him.
And I know studios were hoping they had the next Arnie on their hands, but you have to think that they would have done some kind of screen test with this guy earlier and found, oh no, he can't play this part. Because he looks like He-Man fine enough, and that's where it ends. He is just dreadful as this character. He's not really stoic as he is just dull. And he didn't have a good time, so that could have had a lot to do with it. But his performance is just really bad, and they had to know beforehand that it was going to be. And apparently the director actually wanted to dub all of his speaking parts again. But hilariously, Dolph's contract wouldn't allow for it. They had to give him at least 3 tries to re-record it. And in the end, the movie ran out of money, and they just had to use it the way Dolph read live. And ouch. And as a result, He-Man is almost barely in this movie at all. He's in nearly every scene, but he has basically no dialogue, and he's just kind of standing around in the background. I forgot He-Man was in the real world for quite a while, because so much of the focus is on stupid Gwildor, that annoying-ass jerk who is not Orko, but is basically Orko. We all know he's Orko. And they focus on him more than they do He-Man. And so you've got, it's not a He-Man movie, right? Because it's the Master of the Universe movie. But that whole thing is about He-Man. And He-Man here is just invisible. He's not here.
Case, would you like to respond to Dolph Lundgren's acting and how He-Man was utilized?
It's an interesting point, because I don't disagree that Lundgren's acting is why Prince Adam isn't here, or one of the reasons why they wouldn't have even attempted to do a Prince Adam here. He certainly wasn't.
Lundgren could never play the Prince Adam, no, because Prince Adam's very kind of in touch with his feminine side, and he's victim weight. That's his character.
However, I never took him as an atrocious choice of casting in this film. I thought that they wrote him stoically, and he basically used him as eye candy in this film where he is present, and downplayed the character where it wasn't. Now, part of this is also helpful to note that He-Man is probably the most ridiculous looking of the characters from Eternia when set in this modern world, and to emphasize him less is not a terrible choice there, and to use him and conserve him for the big moments is not a bad choice. But I think some of this is an agree to disagree in terms of his performance. He's not as strong an actor as he would eventually become, but I think Lundgren is doing fine at being a stoic hero version. And sure, it's a stripped down personality compared to the He-Man of the cartoons, but the He-Man of the cartoons is not easy to listen to.
Well, once again, they're not going for the cartoon, so they're not going for Prince Adam or even the moral lesson at the end. He is kind of just supposed to be a brutal barbarian. And yet they still kind of keep it to the cartoon, right? He's not allowed to kill. So that's why, like, all the henchmen, or like all those soldiers, they're all robots. So He-Man didn't end up killing anyone. They're all robots. He's allowed to destroy them all.
Wait a minute, Maynard, you're prosecuting a movie with robots in it?
I am. Hey, court assigned. But anyway, they weren't. Did they look like robots, or did they look like fake ass super laser techs from Star Trek? Or Star Wars. Let the jury decide. We're going to let them decide. But I want to go back, because I disagree about He-Man being the most ridiculous looking character, because unfortunately, back to where we began, is our friend Frank. Unfortunately, I think Langella looks the absolute worst in this movie. The mask is awful. And that's unfortunate, because most of the other makeup effects in this film I can let slide. I kind of like some of them. We'll touch on some of them hopefully in a bit. But it doesn't matter, because Skeletor is absolutely the star of this movie. He has the most dialogue. He has like the most screen time just talking to the camera. His whole face fills up the camera. He's the star of this. And the makeup is distractingly bad. One, they shouldn't have had the skull face able to emote, where it can kind of stretch and smile. The Filmation character's skull face actually does kind of stretch and smile at moments, but they weren't going for that, were they? They're going for the art on the box in comics. And in that, I think it's a more rigid skeleton face that's actually bone. And I think to have it bend and contort like it's flesh just gives you an uncanny valley effect, and it's distracting. So even though Langella's performance is good, his read is good, they had gotten a better skull mask. Even if you couldn't see his face move, his performance would have carried through anyway. So I think it's an unfortunate choice that they let it be rubbery like that and move move with his face. The other part about Skeletor I don't like is Skeletor's rippling with muscles because he fist fights He-Man, strongest man in the universe or whatever, but he can go toe-to-toe with He-Man in strength. So his figure from the original sculpt is shredded as hell. Huge muscles, huge abs. All he has is a skull face, but the rest of him is brolic and muscly, you know? But unfortunately, Gary Goddard, the director, he didn't want Skeletor to look sexy. So they bury him up in this black pump cover. So you don't get to see shredded Skeletor, which is awful. So you don't have a skull face that's scary. You have one that's distracting. His body doesn't look right. His personality's all off, especially if you're going to talk about the TV show, because Skeletor is pretty accepting of failure. You know, he wouldn't be around if he killed his henchmen every time they failed, because they fail every goddamn week on the show. So he couldn't be killing them like he does in this movie all of the time.
So was Frank Langella ripped for this and they just covered it up?
Probably not, no, but I think what I would have gone with is a body, like a ripped guy in a skull mask where you can't see, and Langella dubbing over it.
All I'm hearing right now is that Frank Langella was just too sexy for this movie, and they had to cover him up.
Well, then they're covering him up, and we don't get pure Langella sexy, and I think that's not fair.
I think that looking at Langella, like Langella is a big guy, or was a big guy, 6'4", only slightly smaller than Lundgren, and so in terms of being able to match him physicality wise, I think the movie allows for it. Sure, they cover him up in robes and so forth to make him look more traditional 80s villain sorcerer type
generic
character.
Villain, more Emperor Palpatine, right?
Sure, but generic isn't by definition bad.
I'll let the jury decide.
Speaking of which, do you have another exhibit you'd like to present, Mr.
I just want to finish about the Skeletor
Case reply.
mask.
Oh, sure.
Which is that while, yes, it is not a proper skull, the conceit of the character was that it was a human disfigured through magic that revealed his skull. In this movie, if you...
Wait, in what canon?
Okay,
is that mini comic canon?
That's true. I'm not sure entirely if it goes from the mini comic or if it's just the show. But from the standpoint of looking at this as a unique work, the idea that Skeletor is a disfigured individual that appears like a skull is not by itself necessarily the worst adaptation of the convention of it. It's very similar to the Red Skull from Captain America: The First Avenger, and the limitations of the makeup are there and exist.
I think it's a worse one because we've all seen the sculpt of the figure, and I think we all assume this is a skeleton face like a skeleton. It would have been great to be stop motion animated by Harryhausen. He was great at the skeletons moving and cackling. He could have done something wonderful there with Langella voicing it. I think everyone assumes it's a skeleton, not a disfigured man.
All right, well, the jury has a lot to think about in regards to Skeletor. Anything else you'd like to present, Mr. Banks?
So much, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I had so much to say. And I don't know why I'm bringing this up, Case, but do you remember that one awesome scene in Empire when we meet all the bounty hunters, right? And Boba Fett is there, and Bosk is there, and IG-88 and Dengar. They're all there. We meet all the bounty hunters. Wasn't that a great scene? Forlom was there. Forlom and Zuckus. I can't forget I fuckus with Zuckus.
We're all a bunch of nerds.
Sure Did you say IG-88 already? Because
I already said IG-88.
And we got them all.
Scumbag.
We got them all.
Remember that scene? Wasn't that cool? I don't know why I bring that up, but it seems apropos of nothing. But speaking of the bounty hunters, just because Skeletor seems to have his own in this, I just want to ask members of the jury, based on just this movie that you saw, no knowledge of it, what is Beastman's main power or ability? If you can't answer, that's because he doesn't use it in this movie at all. He controls and summons animals and monsters and beasts from Eternia. That's the thing he does. And he does it from the mini comics. His toy does it. His original toy mentions that he controls beasts. That's his thing. He does not get to do it in this movie at all, which essentially makes him nothing more than a Temu Chewbacca. He practically has the bandolier on. And where is Merman? You're going to say this is based on the mini comics and the original line of He-Man figures, and you're missing one of the 3 original bad guys in the series. There's only 3. Merman is the other main henchman of Skeletor besides Beastman. Why not include him? The makeup effects are extremely doable. Instead, they wanted to make up 3 new ones, Blade, Karg, and Surad, maybe just so they could get new toys, but the line were failing, and those toys didn't end up selling successfully anyway. They didn't even make a Karg figure, in fact, actually. So there was really no reason to add so many other characters when you had beloved ones that existed already. And last thing I do want to touch on too, just so we can move on to this, we did touch on Star Wars. Remember the moment where they almost played Imperial March? Skeletor's on that big floating platform. They're shooting it down from above, and the score damn near goes bum, bum, bum. Oh, shit. And they just start playing something else. They're like, oh, we're not allowed to play that song. And they just played something else. It's so ridiculous to be doing a Star Wars style movie like this in 87. This movie came out 2 months after Spaceballs, right? So this was so hacked that Mel Brooks had spoofed it 2 months ago, and then this movie comes to theaters, and Spaceballs was all I could think of in the scene where Evelyn takes on the appearance of Courtney Cox's mother, and she goes out to her mother and believes she's her mother and does everything she's her mother, just like Dark Helmet did in Spaceballs. I wanted to go, ha, fooled you! Anyway, with that, Your Honor, the prosecution rests. This movie sucked.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bangs. Mr. Aiken, you can present any exhibits you have in defense of the film and, of course, respond to anything that Mr. Bangs has said.
Of course. I mean, I think that the greatest defense of this movie is that it is a movie. That it is a
you can say that about everything.
Well, but
let's hear him out.
Finished production of this. They ran out of budget in the middle of making the third act. They had to scrape it together with random shots and pull money just to get the final confrontation. You referenced the weird platform that Skeletor was riding on. That's like clearly just like a genie. Like they're pulling out all the stops just to do things. And admittedly, the third act is not the strongest that could possibly be. Admittedly, there's a weak arc with Courtney Cox's character. Admittedly, there's a lot of new superfluous characters introduced here, which I have to say, you kind of answered your own question for why they were there, which is that they were there to create toys. And the fact that this movie didn't do well isn't necessarily proof that they are bad characters or that they shouldn't have been there. Just that this movie didn't do well. It was marketed poorly, and that they didn't sell the toys off of it.
I do like Sorod. I like some of them. They didn't need so many new ones. But I think my point. Actually, I'm going to let you continue because I can't form that thought right now. So you
Good
continue
point.
while I put that in. Because he had said something a moment ago that I wanted to respond to, and then I defended Sorod.
All good. Keep going, Case,
Yeah,
please.
it's totally fine. It is a shockingly watchable movie considering the fact that everything going into producing this film should have been enough to shoot 2/3 of a movie and have it all fall apart. And somehow we end up with an interesting, if idiosyncratic performance as Skeletor by Frank Langella. We get a picture perfect, albeit maybe with the sound turned off, He-Man. We get like we get Teela, we get Man at Arms, we get fun scenes with them, we get this aggressiveness from Teela, which is so fun in the movie.
I like Teela is beautiful in this too. I can't remember what her outfit reminds me of, but she does even less than Man at Arms. She does more than He-Man. But
I mean, to compare it to Star Wars, which for one thing is also a derivative work, but for another is one of the best derivative works of all time, and one of the most successful ones, being built off of the clout that a extremely successful director in George Lucas, coming off of American Graffiti, was able to put together and almost didn't. You're comparing it to the gold standard when really all we're trying to do is establish that this movie crosses the finish line.
Well, I mean, okay, I do kind of remember what I wanted to talk about. It was about this budget, and you're kind of like, oh well, they only had so much budget. They're doing the best they can. They're making it happen. You act like this was fans of this series making a love letter to it, and they just didn't have enough money to do it. That's not what's going on. These people don't love this series, as proof that they had no basis from either the mini comics, the figures, or the Filmation series. This is a film group, Canon Film Groups, who was able to get the rights to this and thought they could make a lot of money by putting out a movie with Masters of the Universe as the title and not really caring what was in it. So this whole thing's a cash grab. So when they go, boo-hoo, they don't have enough money, that's because they never had enough money to make this property and they just wanted to ram out something and make some quick cash. So it's not like a love letter to the series or anything. It's a cash grab just like the toys ever were.
Yeah, and it could have been way worse.
Could have been way better. We'll find out. Let the jury decide which one.
All right, Mr. Aiken, if you'd like to make another point.
Well, I think we've covered most of the points here. Things like the it being set on Earth, things like it feeling like a smaller world, things, all of these are limitations of the movie in terms of its potential grandiose nature and what it could have been to the children of the era. But it did succeed at being a finished production that used those limitations at least to, like I said, to tell a complete story. And I need to be clear here that I'm not approaching this as someone who is deeply nostalgic for the movie from the era. I was a huge He-Man fan as a child, and I desperately wanted to see this movie when I was a kid. It was massively popular in home video stores at the time, because that was kind of the thing about home video stores at the time. They had, it was Canon, it was Troma, it was all these studios that were putting out direct-to-video before the big studios got in there. And so it looked like it was a much more available movie, or a much bigger movie in the zeitgeist than it actually was at the time. I didn't see it until I was in my 30s, and I very much enjoyed it from the perspective of being an adult, looking at it and seeing all the limitations, all the weaknesses of it. But at the same time saying this was supposed to be a cash grab. They thought they were just sticking a label on crap and getting it out the door.
And they thought they were capitalizing on the most popular toy franchise that existed, except that it was just starting to wane in popularity then. And then this is the death knell.
But I would still say that it resulted in a movie that is fun to watch. Is it great? No. But is it bad? No. It's fun. It has a good time with the characters. Courtney Cox and Robert Duncan McNeil are very fun. You got the principal from Back to the Future in here as kind of a funky role that's enjoyable. The whole piece is ultimately a film that is a mess, but it's kind of an engaging mess. It's a sloppy Joe. It's not filet mignon.
All right, and would you like to rest their case?
And with that, I rest.
Very good. Both sides have rested their cases. We will now hear closing arguments. Mr. Bangs, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've had a lot of fun here today. So why stop now? This is Maynard Bangs' top 6 in the big 2-6, baby!
Really phoning it in.
Action figures from Mattel's final unreleased wave, lovingly known as Masters of the Schlenzoverse.
Ooh, okay.
Number 1, of course, the big man himself, the yokest man in the Schlenzoverse. It's D-Man! By day, he is puny and shrimpy Prince Dylan, but when he holds aloft his pipe of power and shouts, Space Camp!
Space Camp! Oh, I knew it!
He becomes the mandsome and schlendiferous barbarian D-Man, protector of the Schlenzoverse. Mighty Catsteed D-Rock sold Shepherdly. Shepherdly.
We're failing forward, Ben.
2. D-Man's faithful companion, Big Bend. You could stretch and pull this figure's limbs to seemingly no limits, but the designers clearly never thought twice about the obvious strangulation hazards.
Ooh.
Number 3, the dangerous and yet alluring techno-assassin, Bang Bang Bangs. This figure was actually pulled from shelves because the guns that it has for arms, and also the guns that it has for legs, actually produce real sparks from flint, and thus started several 1980s house fires. Number 4, Cryo and Freeze Rodriguez. He has all the powers of Sub-Zero, +1. And you can actually put him in your freezer overnight and then take him to school in your lunchbox, and he keeps your lunch cold all day. It's legit genius. Plus, beware his Criterion flash bombs, which hit his enemies every March and October. Number 5, Batty Puss, an anthropomorphic semi-aquatic mammal that uses martial arts to strike with his lethal barbs. You
He's
could
my
buy
favorite.
You could buy refills of his venom capsules. They marketed those as being genuine Black Widow, but you know that shit was probably just brown recluse. And number 6, the ultimate bad guy, the one that every kid wanted, relatively speaking, at this point in the series, the one, the only, the sinister Scully Scullerson, Lord of Fear. He's got like 89 guns, and with that, Your Honor, we rest.
Make him even 90.
Okay.
Thank God.
Maynard, we're going to have to cut this, but this is insane. On a complete larf, I wrote your name for the interview as Maynard Bangs.
Kick ass.
Like that, I'm not even kidding. If you look at the show notes right now, I have no idea what possessed me to do that. And you literally I hate the way our head works sometimes. All right, but we got to cut all that. Thank you, Mr. Bangs. Mr. Aiken, you may present your closing argument.
Masters of the Universe is not guilty of being a bad movie. It is guilty of being a small movie with a big expectation attached to it. But look what it actually does. It does tell a complete story. It does deliver a compelling villain, and it does land its ending. All while fighting an uphill battle the entire time. It had studio interference, it was lacking a budget, and a lot of people involved just didn't care. But it resulted in a coherent, enjoyable film. It's not a failure. It's a movie that refused to collapse under its limitations.
It failed forward.
Man, there's a lot of parallels between Masters Universe and this episode. Thank you all, members of the jury, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, and Mr. Tell Me About the Loneliness of Good, Ryan Luis Rodriguez.
Hey, that's the one.
You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
Right this way? Just let me shepherdly guide your way right over there.
How did he know? He had that written down since yesterday. How did he know I was
I did that yesterday.
Well, it's like bang, bangs. We're all on the same wavelength, and it's a terrible wavelength.
Bad wavelength.
Are we grumbling today, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I get to be the foreman. You don't get Benator, whatever terrible thing that would have been.
Big Ben.
Hey, the bailiff didn't get a toy. What the hell? Okay.
Yeah, geez. All right, Masters of the Universe. I'm glad that this one came to court because I had never seen it, and then I did hear about this new one coming out. So I was sort of excited to sort of be able to watch this and get some sort of footing into this because I never played with the toys and or anything like that. But then I saw the trailer for the new one and it looks awful. So I think my interest will stop here at the end of this trial. I was lost. Battle Cat, like Prince Adam. I didn't know what the hell these guys were talking about because I have no footing into the toys or anything at all. All I had to go was based on the movie, and I kind of had fun with it. Robert Duncan McNeil, Tom Paris was in it. Courtney Cox was fun. I did sort of see that they were just sort of doing that Beastmaster thing where it's like, yeah, it's a way to save money to have it all shot in our world. I could kind of tell that was the case here. I don't think it sunk it, but I could sort of tell it was just a necessary evil. To answer some questions that the prosecutor threw at us, I do remember Grayskull, what it looked like. It was a matte painting right at the beginning. And also, I kind of thought what Case thought. I thought Skeletor was just like a guy who was disfigured, and he just looked sort of like a skull, so people started calling him Skeletor. So, yeah, that made sense to me.
Wouldn't it be amazing if his name was Skeletor before that happened to him?
What are the odds?
His name was Herschel Skeletor, and then this horrible accident happened to him.
A guy named Otto Octavius ends up with 8 limbs.
My son is no Skeletor.
It was Herschel Skelertonson, and he changed it when he
changed it to Ellis Island.
Yeah,
when he emigrated to Eternia.
So yeah, as far as like if it's like a good Masters of the Universe adaptation, I think Maynard has convinced me it fails at that. I couldn't compare it though. I mean, I don't know any of that. So from what it gave me, like I could tell it was weak. Does it fall completely where I didn't enjoy myself? That is the question I am asking myself. Ryan, what were you thinking?
Well, hold on a minute, Ben. I want to probe what you just said,
Yeah.
because obviously the intentionality of this movie, I think we can all agree, is to promote Masters of the Universe and the toys, and it's targeting people who would ostensibly be fans. If you're going into it cold, it's trying to pull you in. So
Yes.
would you say that this has
I
pulled
would
you
agree.
in, and you would be more interested in the toys now, or no?
Not the toys. I would be interested in a sequel, maybe, but
No,
not...
or the show. It's trying to promote existing IP.
I would be interested in a little bit of the show, but then
you would go to the cartoon or try to find the comics or the toys after watching this, is what you're saying.
I wouldn't hate
I
the
don't
idea.
think you would. I don't think
not
you
as
would.
not as a 40-something-year-old adult, but like if I saw it as a kid or something, I think I might.
I don't think you would, because I did see this as a kid, and I was already a He-Man fan, and it doesn't give
But
you.
you were already a fan, so you already had a preconception of what
it doesn't give you a lot as a fan. I don't think it would pull someone in.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it
succeeds
on that level at all.
And that's literally the whole point. I mean, I love Case, but when he's going to Earth is controversial. It's like, dude, that's the whole movie. It's like, and he admitted that Dolph Lundgren did bad. It's like, he's the star. It's like,
no, he's on the side. They try and like focus on Courtney Cox and Robert Duncan McNeil a bit.
His name's He-Man.
They're not much better though either, and it has nothing to do with it. No one's going out and buying the Courtney Cox toy or the Robert Duncan McNeil.
Hey,
toy.
Watch me.
I mean, you'll get the Tom Paris
I would buy the
different
reasons.
But for different reasons, but yeah.
One for one scale.
Okay, let's kick it over to Ryan real quick. Ryan, what are you thinking, my friend?
I'm going to bifurcate my arguments into positive and negative.
I like it.
We'll start with the positive. Evil Lynn is Meg Foster from They Live, and casting someone with those eyes as an alien or an otherworldly creature completely works for me. Absolutely works. Frank Langella out there swimming in the River of Ham, delightful. Absolutely delightful.
He's the Back to the Future principal, right?
No, that's James Tolkien. I'm about to get to him.
Okay.
Frank Langella's Skeletor.
Okay.
Courtney Cox, absolutely stunning. Still have a crush on Courtney Cox to this day.
Get in line.
Happy anytime she shows up in a movie. Again, the aforementioned James Tolkien playing the detective never calls anyone a slacker. That's a definite demarcation point.
He probably would have gotten sued if he did.
I love that there's no romance with He-Man between him and Courtney Cox. I love that they have Tom Paris in there instead. And I miss hand-drawn lightning effects. There's just something about it that just makes me very nostalgic. Now the negatives. Now, for Halloween, my dad used to have, I don't know if you guys are aware of this mask, but it was a plastic mask that had a blood packet underneath it, and if you squeezed a pump, blood would come down.
Cool.
And it looked like what Skeletor looks like in this film. And I don't mean that as a positive.
You can never, you'd only do it one time because there'd always be little blood drops kind of stuck in it.
The surprise only works the first time you take it out of the package, and then it's kind of like, oh, I get the point. Yeah, that's great. I've never understood the appeal of He-Man, period, much less He-Man on Earth. And I remember there's a great documentary called Electric Boogaloo that covers the entire run of canon films. And somebody recounts a story of Sylvester Stallone, who was in there to make Over the Top, seeing footage of Dolph Lundgren and asking the producer, "You gave that guy lines?" I am so weirded out by the fact that the MacGuffin is a phallic synthesizer. I have no idea what's going on there. It's truly
Have you seen He-Man?
It's truly unfortunate that they sidelined Courtney Cox with a leg wound about 2/3 into the movie, because it reminded me a lot of how they sidelined Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon. This is the only comparison you will ever hear to Masters of the Universe and Killers of the Flower Moon. And lastly, Skeletor's golden armor looks like something out of Big Trouble in Little China, which could be good, could be bad, depending on how you feel about it. And I'm glad Rob brought up the bounty hunter thing, because I have this in my notes. Skeletor summons his bounty hunter army like an empire.
Mm-hmm.
So I am I am right there in the middle right now. So,
Oh
Dylan,
my
what do you
god,
think?
he brought up such a good point. Like I noticed that too when the score almost became Star because I sat up. I'm like, hold on a minute, and then it changed. And it
You
was like-
coward.
I know. That's what I was like. Oh, wait a minute, and then like it's. So for people out there, if you haven't watched this, like with the way Maynard described it, it's 100% right. It's very funny.
Oh, there's no exaggeration there whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it was like they
Do not
literally
take it as a
remembered
joke
halfway
if you're out
through.
there and haven't seen the movie. Go ahead. It's on Tubi.
Yeah,
Go watch
it's
the
on
movie.
God, it's on Tubi. Yeah, no. So look, Maynard delivered so many body blows, and I get what Case is saying, like that this because the movie does limp over the finish line in so much as it is complete. It is a standalone movie you can watch. It doesn't feel incomplete. However, it does feel it feels bad. You know, like the acting is not great. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah, it's a little mixed. I don't know. I think
no. I
don't think everyone here is failing.
Honestly, I think they all do, and I know a lot of people like hanging. They like to borrow the prestige that Frank Langella brings to this, right? And he is.
Even Maynard says he was okay. Like from
of course, everyone does. You can't say Frank Langella is not good. I mean, he was even good in Frost and Nixon, but I mean, he's just not great in this, though. And that is like, and it's not particularly Skeletor. You know, he is just kind of being a generic bad guy. You know, like I don't think there is much there for him to work with, as Maynard said, making up some of his own lines, which admittedly it's a good line and he has some good line reads, but to me that's not enough to pull it over the finish line. And I mean, Case was just reeling from some of these things, and it, like being in the real world, God, the costumes do look so bad. And if you're going to put him in the real world, make him revert to Prince Adam to try to blend in. I mean, like, there's so many.
No, then you'd have to explain it. I don't know who Prince Adam is. You'd have to explain it, and I'd be lost.
No, you wouldn't have to explain it because they didn't make this movie for new people. That's the whole point. That's why they optioned this, because everything was so established. You know, so like they're not looking to pull in.
No, but I didn't feel lost watching this movie. I would have felt lost watching the movie you're describing.
No, you would not have been lost if He-Man was turned into Prince Adam. I mean, it's very, very basic stuff. You know what I mean?
You're gonna have Dolph like explain, "Hey, I'm Prince Adam now, and I must break you."
Oh my God! No, then you would have had to have done a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that's the story, though. Keeping him a He-Man the whole time does not make because like Maynard said, you bring him into the real world. This is a great chance for easy jokes, first of all. Like maybe we rolled our eyes, but they would have been easy jokes.
It would have been Crocodile Dundee at that point.
Yeah, exactly. You could do the fish out of water stuff. It would have been interesting, but we don't get anything out of it. And it is because of these budgetary limitations, because they were choosing to squeeze every dollar. That way they could maximize profit. So when you look at every step of the way, they made every decision they made was like the third worst decision they could make. And when you look at the intentionality about how this is going to cash in on an ostensibly popular toy line, it failed there as well. Maynard kept saying death knell, and I think that's a perfect way to describe it. So I'm very happy and very pleased to lock in the first not guilty. No, I'm kidding. Guilty, 100%.
Ryan?
I'm going to make things interesting for Ben.
Don't do it.
I am not guilty.
I have the power.
There you go.
It probably does fail a bit on intentionality. I do know that we do weigh that a lot in this court. I think that if they made that film that you're describing, I would be lost. I said that already. I also don't know if it would be good. I think you'd have like a lot of parents just like checked out. Whereas this like sort of, with the limitations it has, gives you enough of a framework to sort of reference things. I do think, I think Case said it was shockingly watchable. I sort of agree with that. Like I did not expect much of it at all, but I did find myself enjoying it. I wouldn't watch it again, but it was.
You had to have been laughing at it though, Ben.
In a few places, not the whole time though. I think a lot of the times it's trying to get the laughs out of you. Like it like with the synthesizer stuff, it knows it's kind of ridiculous.
It had so many manifest issues, though, Ben. I mean, the acting is so bad. The story does not
Not
make
all of
any
it. I
sense.
disagree with you there.
The real
I think Courtney
humans-
Cox is fine. I think Skeletor's
Oh,
fine. I think
no.
Tom Paris is fine. I think everybody else sucks. Dolph Lundgren sucks. And
But
like
if
everyone,
they're, but
his
they're
whole
like
troop
the
sucks.
least interesting. So you're saying like they're fine, but it's like the least interesting characters though are the ones you're talking about. Like this should be about the heroes. Of
I don't know
Eternia.
that though. I don't know any of those people. I don't know who He-Man
Oh, my
is. So
God.
like who this movie presents to me are the people that I'm going to follow.
And
So
it's
I'm going
so
not guilty.
boring. I can. This is an abomination.
Hey,
of
you can
justice.
appeal it if you want for double jeopardy. Let's
my
go tell
God.
that very handsome judge.
Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor, in the case of The People versus Masters of the Universe, 1987, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie, but don't watch it anyway.
All right, order in the court. The verdict is so rendered. Masters of the Universe is free to go, and the court will take in Frank Langella's one-man show from Skeletor to Nixon. Court is adjourned.
I'd watch that. I would watch that.
This is Mumbly Mumberson from the Dimension of Eternia, related only by name to previous iterations of Mumbersons across the multiverse, reporting to you live from outside the Reels of Justice. Case Aiken, you're familiar with the multiverse. Would you share your thoughts on the jury's verdict?
I frankly was wowed at the shift in tone on that one. Maynard did a fantastic job on this, and it's a movie that I knew was going to be tough. I have a real soft spot for it. While I don't have any nostalgia from it from being a kid, I do have a weird fascination with it in the way that I enjoy movies that are flawed, and this is a deeply flawed movie that has a lot of fun that I really take out of it, and I'm glad that 2/3 of the jury kind of shared my weird fetish for strange afflicted movies. So I'm really glad that it went this way, and it was a tough fight, and I really respect the case Maynard made, and frankly, I wish that I was less sleep deprived from having my second child a month ago, because I would have liked to have made a few better points, but I'm glad with the outcome, of course.
Thank you. And here comes Maynard Bangs, you absolute bastard. Excuse me, can we get a word on how you feel about today's verdict?
Not the real mumbly mumblerson. Anyway,
I'm from Eternia,
whoever you are,
different. I'm a different version.
mumbly. Well, justice has again not been served here, but we're used to it. I did hear a bit of what the jury had said, so it sounds like some people who don't know this series at all are completely unaware of exactly how bad it is. I mean, I guess you could walk into certain Batman movies that weren't related to Batman at all and be like, oh, well, this is Batman, I'll let this slide. I imagine this particular juror would not appreciate those kind of things. But I thought this movie was really bad. There are things I like. I like all the bounty hunters, even though they're not the characters. Some of them are not the characters they should be. So some of the practical effects weren't so bad. In fact, the Eternia throne room is a particularly impressive set, just in its size. But all the performances were bad. There's no story. There's no nothing. This is neither a love letter to the series or even really a successful cash grab. I think it's a failure, but what do I know?
That's a very good point. What do you know? That's all we have from the courthouse today. Let's go back to the studio for post-trial analysis. I have the power or whatever.
By the power of Grayskull.
Space Camp!
I lost his power.
Oh, I know. I had it like that split second. I knew it was Space. Dude, and I literally wrote Bang Bang Bangs. I'm not
That's
even
so
kidding.
funny
You
that
had no way of knowing
we've
any
never
of this.
used that before.
Never.
A thing, and we both used it on the same day. Anyway, great case. I know you're a fan of this series. I actually don't know anything about this series, so I had to plunge into it for this case. So I caught up on a lot of the TV show, and for people interested in the toy line, there's some great wikis out there, some very dedicated people with full pictures and everything. And there is that great episode that Schlender recommended, The Toys That Made Us. There's a great
I would
one on
also
He-Man.
recommend the Netflix Kevin Smith version of Masters of the Universe, which is actually pretty good.
I do think I know the one you mean. Yeah.
Revelation.
I think so, yeah. And they have a She-Ra as well.
Yes, they do. Different universe, but yes.
Different universe from that, but that She-Ra is a continuation of the first She-Ra.
Sure.
It is. Well, I
No,
think it's a
no,
reboot,
the She-Ra and the
actually.
Princess of Power is a remake fully.
Yeah, the Princesses of Power is a reboot.
You're still making me even more lost. I don't know any of these things.
That's okay, Schlender. That's okay, Ben. You could have just taken my word for it. I was right about it. But this was kind of a fun movie. This was right for our show.
It is a good fit for the show. It needed to stay in court. We will do Appeals of Justice Double Jeopardy, where we get manifestly guilty movies that we let off for some reason, and we'll
Dolph Lundgren
get them where they need to be.
That's totally fair. This movie is absolutely fascinating but flawed. I was surprised.
That's what it says on my dating profile.
At how visceral the reaction from Schlenzo and from Maynard were, but because I find this is such a fascinating curiosity, which is why when it was suggested on your Facebook group, I was like, oh dude, I would totally talk about this movie, because it's again, I saw it in my 30s, so I witnessed it from the lens of someone who has worked in film, who has seen plenty of bad movies, and who's not hanging all of his hopes on a franchise being good in that way anymore. It's not like it was it's not like it was the 90s or even the early 2000s. We've had the MCU, we've had authentic, for their moments, adaptations of works, and while those are great to have, it's you can see this in the lineage of superhero films being part of just a particular era. And things like Lundgren being not a particularly good speaker, Highlander is one of my favorite movies of all time. And that they had to basically phonetically write out all the lines for Christopher Lambert. So,
but he got him out.
He did get him out. The Highlander is a better movie than this.
Dolph did it,
but also I brought up Troma a couple of times. Toxic Avenger is one of my favorite movies of all time, and this is a better movie than Toxic Avenger.
But this is also
Case. No,
look.
And although this is
in
not
terms
a
of
studio,
we could get into really weird debates about that. That might be a strong statement right there. But
Cannon is also above Troma in a bit. Troma aims low and is happy to stay low. This is a case where Cannon was like, we want to get bigger, so let's try a movie that we know can churn out a bunch of money. No matter what we put out, morons are going to go out into the theater and see this because
Troma's kind of endearing, and
right.
Cannon is not. Cannon is craven.
At
not
this
Craven
point,
the Hunter, but
at this point
Craven.
in this, they're I think, yeah. At this time,
they're the lawful evil studio.
I think that the main emotion I have when I look at this movie is bemusement, and I was surprised that wasn't as shared by the court. But I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with the results. I feel a little bad about it because Maynard, you did a really good job with this one, and I just want to. And I feel that the case was really strong, and I feel that the movie lent itself to a guilty verdict, just by virtue of its reputation, of the clear limitations in its production, and the deviations from the source material. But all those reasons why people hate it.
There's a few ways they could have gone. They got them all wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have talked about this movie to death. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The verdict is what it is. It's not guilty. People go out there, watch the movie, and make up your own mind. Come up with your own verdict.
Text us about it, because you'll see a link in the show notes. Just mention the episode, because it won't tell us which one you're responding
Where is it?
No, it's in the show notes. It's always there. You don't put it there.
I clicked the wrong link. Anyway, so Case, what's been keeping you busy? It's on about a baby. What have you been busy?
Well, yeah. So 1 month ago, as of this recording, I had my second child, and so
you weren't even showing
that. Well, when you have as stocky a frame as I do, it's really hard to tell when that.
I saw those Facebook pictures. You've been trimming down with it. I saw them.
I appreciate you stalking me on social media.
We're friends. That's what social media does.
That's true.
Want to see what Case is doing? Not really. Well, here it is.
So that's been keeping me like particularly busy in the real world kind of thing, but keeping a lot of projects up in the air. Right before the baby was born, and not quite done, but mostly done, is a new project that I am about to release, but everything's in the can except for the finale, which is a new podcast that I am promoting called The Word from Tomorrow, which is a reread podcast for the series Transmetropolitan by Warren Ellis and Derek Robertson. And the reason for that is that it is this weird prescient cyberpunk journalism story about a journalist squaring off against an incredibly corrupt president, and it just seemed like the kind of thing that was a good thing to talk about in the modern era
for whatever reason. No reason why we bring it up. But.
So as of
those of you listening in 2028, it might make more sense or less sense. We'll see.
All these episodes are dated.
As of this recording, the 10 episodes where we actually talk about the comic are all in the can, and then we have an interview with Derek Robertson that was supposed to be for tomorrow and got rescheduled for next week. So we were waiting to get everything in the can before we release the series. But that's been a big one. It's going to be a much more like... while it is a podcast, it is going to be a much more production value heavy podcast where it is way more video elements and with insert shots of the comic and so forth. So a higher tier than just like a bunch of guys talking.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Wow, okay.
Sitting right here, Case.
Hey, I am the master of podcasts. Do you know how many shows I have that are just a bunch of guys talking?
Actually, we've been on all of them.
You guys have all been on them.
We're very good at it.
Yeah. So that's a big effort. And then actually one thing I do want to promote that I just actively need submissions for is a series I launched called Trade School, which is a love letter to just comic books. The idea is each episode is a guest comes on and talks for 5 to 15 minutes just about a comic book trade paperback that they really like. And that is the entire format for the show. It is just one person.
I got a guy for you. He's
talk
not much of a
talk about it for a few minutes.
I will come on and talk about Quiver any day of the week.
Absolutely. I need submissions because it's a weekly show. So I launched with 4 months of backlogged episodes, and I burned through those real quick. So more submissions would be great. I really appreciate anyone who wants to submit. Just reach out to me. My email address is case.aiken@gmail.com, or you can find me on most social media platforms at Case Aiken. I'm super happy to welcome anyone on. So far, no one aside from Ben, I believe you asked about doing Watchmen, which is the only one I've been ooh, I don't know if I want to pull that.
Come on, Ben. Could I just do the best one? You know, it's like, geez, man, come on.
I think that people are really going to want to hear what I have to say about Watchmen.
I thought I was going to do all you need is kill, but I'd have to kind of reread it.
You should do the Black Frigate comments within Watchmen. That's what you should do, Ben. That's the secret sauce. Just to focus on a little piece of it.
But those are the two big things that are new that I should bring up, as opposed to all the other stuff that I continue to have going on. Another passage
just touch on
going well, and I do a lot of podcasting. That's a big thing I do.
Yeah.
And you can find all that at certainpov.com or on my YouTube channel, which is Certain POV Media. Those are keeping me busy, even in the face of me having a newborn and a toddler and all that.
And before this episode drops, Case was on my latest episode of One Track Mind talking about the 2025 Superman audio commentary. And we actually recorded it on the day of the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly. And it was
you didn't miss much.
It was quite a blast. Having Case on anytime, no matter what the show is always a delight.
Well,
taco dip.
I'm going to be honest. I don't remember if it was the day of the Super Bowl because I wouldn't have paid attention to that anyway. But it was a blast talking about it. And One Track Mind is a great show that people should absolutely check out.
You know, I was just giving Ben shit for Watchmen, but I kind of want to go on your show and do Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, which is pretty big too. So,
well, so the premise is the trade paperback. So
you got to pick one little one.
You could pick an omnibus if you wanted to. Or
no. I got a great one. There's one where Swamp Thing is hiking through this tundra and he doesn't remember why. It's really good. I'll talk about that one.
Been there, Swamp Thing.
Yeah, man. Well, no, the twist is the girl he's trying to save is like this monster that's messing with his mind and trying to kill him.
Spoilers.
Well, you know, if they
Does
listen
sound cool though.
Yeah, I know it's not bad.
I don't
actually.
know. There's probably something with Godzilla in it I could do.
There's tons of Godzilla comics.
There's new Godzilla comics.
I know.
Oh
there's
wait,
one where
no.
it goes to
I
hell,
want to
which is
do
cool.
Ghostbusters meet Transformers, but those ones are.
No, wait, Case.
wonderful.
I want to do Ghostbusters meet Transformers. Forget
I
this
wanna
both
do
do it.
Ghostbusters meet
We'll come
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I mean, that's pretty good. Oh man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meet Batman. Dude, there's
King
so many
Kong on the
crossovers
Planet
we
of
can
the
do.
Apes.
X-Men meets Star Trek: The Next Generation.
That's a book. That's really like a legit.
No, yeah, I
novel.
know. It's a comic too.
Did they do it as a comic?
Yeah, they did.
There's so much
Look,
material
Case,
out
we
there, and
just
that's
gave
the
you
awesome
like
part.
3 months worth of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all please just bring them on, and for all your listeners, please, like if you have ever had a comic that you that meant something to you because of the story or because of the point in your life where you read it, like I want to hear that story. The whole premise is that like
Oh, you want the personal connection?
well, the idea is that comics
Oh, that'd be
are
rough.
good, and I want to be positive about it. And you know why a story means something to you is a big part of that.
well, how can
Do
anyone
Bazooka
say
Joes
no to
count?
that?
If
You
it's
have
an
to build up
omnibus,
like
it would have to
5
be.
of them.
Yeah, if you want to bring the Bazooka Joe omnibus, I will happily check it out.
Have you done?
Wait.
Calvin
Have
and
you ever-
Hobbes?
I was gonna say the Lockhorns.
Oh, I have many of the Peanuts.
Oh
on
yeah,
me,
does
but
Calvin and
I like-
Hobbes count? Because I could. Talk
Oh yeah, I
for
totally would
hours
take
on-
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
You're welcome.
We're gonna send on Dylan's
Haggard
son
the
to talk
Horrible.
about Popeye. It's gonna be really great.
Oh, you know he
Uh,
does like those Popeye funny books.
Now, Case, we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies you think people should see. So, what is a movie you think people should see?
Okay, so this one has nothing to do with the episode that we talked about. It's just a movie that I really like that I recently saw, which is Blackberry. I forget the year that it came out, but it was like
2023. I
that sounds
recommended
right.
it on this show.
oh, you
Ryan
did already?
knows.
Oh, damn it!
Oh,
I
you're free.
apologize.
You're free
No,
to.
no,
No, you're free
You're
to.
allowed to.
Please.
That's
I
consensus.
I am a giant phone nerd to begin with, and so a movie that does a exaggerated expose of the history, the rise and fall of Research in Motion, the company that produced the Blackberries and helped redefine smartphones, is a really. It really scratched an itch for me, but it is shockingly funny with Glenn Howerton and Jay Baruchel as the two co-CEOs of Research in Motion, and witnessing their respective strengths is actually rather inspiring. There's very good scenes where you sort of see how these two functioned as a really strong team, and where the division between them that you can see from the beginning would eventually lead to BlackBerry making key mistakes when the market shifted in ways that were, you know, in retrospect entirely obvious, but at the time were earth-shattering with the release of the iPhone. And how Research in Motion failed to sort of respond when they had a 50% market share, and then now is a dead company in the smartphone market. So it's a really fun story. There's like I said, great jokes. There's needle drops that I just lost my shit at. There's a Ninja Turtles one in there that was absolutely fantastic. It's on Disney Plus at the moment, and I just thought it was just a delightful movie that I was so thrilled to finally watch after a couple of years of wanting to check it out.
If you don't have Disney Plus, I believe it's on Hulu, which is now an add-on to Disney Plus, but I believe it's there as well.
It's all be one
And from the
streaming
director
service.
of Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. So
Wow. Oh, why'd you bury the lead? Definitely would have brought that up. Those Blackberries have
Maynard.
too many buttons. That was
Maynard.
the problem, and the average American finger is too fat to press them.
Oh my God! He's
My
right. Maynard, what's your
recommendation this week-
recommendation?
My recommendation.
trying to
one
help.
more. My recommendation this week is one of the final releases from Canon Films after they failed to ever financially recover from Masters of the Universe. It's
I already recommended Kenjite.
It's 1989's Cyborg, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. A martial arts film set in a post-apocalyptic future, Van Damme has to take revenge, aka kick the shit out of, a gang of roving bad guys that killed his family. Okay, so it's Mad Max. Mad Max with Jean-Claude Van Damme instead of Mel Gibson, and he uses his feet instead of a car. But
he's a kick puncher.
correct. The main reason I watched this movie was because it apparently reused some of the props from the Masters of the Universe sequel that Cannon was working on. However, they managed to age or wear these enough for the post-apocalyptic environment that none stood out to me all that well. Maybe a few cod pieces here and there. This was a latch-ditch return to form for Cannon, who started out by making low-budget B pictures like this. And this is a serviceable hacker if you like fight scenes, especially if you like Jean-Claude Van Damme fight scenes. So I'd definitely rather have a dozen more cyborgs than even the 1/3 of the Mass of the Universe movie Cannon was able to deliver to us. And that's why sometimes you have to stay in your lane. Speaking of a dozen other cyborgs, I am happy to report there were 2 sequels made by other companies. The first starring Angelina Jolie, the second starring, to enough of a degree to feature him on the poster anyway, Malcolm McDowell. I don't think any of us expected me to say that.
Nope.
So between that series and Highlander, it looks like I have a lot of ham to start hacking through in the future, just in time for Easter, the Hamiversary holiday. For intrepid members of the Hack Pack out there, Cyborg is currently streaming on your browser's homepage, which I know for a fact is Tubi.
The Hack Pack? Is that going to be a thing?
Hack Pack!
I also say stay in your lane in my recommendation. What the hell's going on tonight?
I'm not sure. Maybe you should tell us.
Well, I think I will. Because you see, Maynard, if we're going to be masters of the universe in real life, I'm very interested in that. We'll talk more. It will have to start with our astronauts. So I am recommending The Astronaut, a 2025 sci-fi. Wow, it just really is. It's tonight. Sci-fi.
We're all fried.
Sci-fi thriller starring Kate Mora as the astronaut. And no, Maynard, she's not a mutated space chimp. That's just what she looks like.
Oh, no!
It's utterly predictable and cribbing off an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? But it's not without its charms, and it is ultimately just a middling sci-fi offering. Nothing wrong with staying in your lane, and as eagle-eared listeners will know, I always say first-time or early directors should make a solid genre pick before moving on to whatever passes for their quote-unquote voice. And director Jess Varley clearly listened to me and delivered. I have no idea where this is streaming because I've built up a catalog of recommendations and I'm rapidly forgetting when or where I watched them.
Tubi. No, sci-fi, like a Friday where you watch sci-fi films. That would be like a great...
Let's do it.
The Hack Pack would get together for sci-fi.
Hell
It's
yeah.
all coming together.
Wait, no, you eat fried foods while eating sci-fi on Friday.
Okay, we've got this. Is
The
so
sci-fi.
dialed in.
While eating sci-fi? How does one
You're
do that
eating
exactly?
fried foods while watching sci-fi. Maybe I said eating, but it's just that fucking... that's what today is, Ryan.
That's what it is, man.
You need to listen to the words I'm thinking, not what I'm saying, Ryan.
What somehow we're able to do today, which is really weird.
It is, because actually I watched an Are You Afraid of the Dark movie recently that I want to accuse someone of cribbing off of. I just watched it this weekend, so it's hilarious that you did too. That just happened. Ryan, why don't you give us your recommendation?
My Hecko-bendation this week is one of my favorite experiences of the year so far, Alex Ross Perry's 2025 documentary, Video Heaven. It chronicles the rise and fall of video stores from mom and pops to the mass market Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. I don't particularly miss VHS, but there's something bittersweet yet mostly unsentimental about revisiting these meccas of cinema in the age of streaming. Hell, the only way you could watch it is on streaming. And this 3-hour epic makes the most of every minute. As someone who worked at Blockbuster for 5 years and closed 11 or 12 stores during that time, it makes me nostalgic in a way that nothing has since my previous Hecko-bendation. I like movies. In fact, the two would make a perfect double feature. All I know is that I could have watched this for another 3 hours, and if anyone has a copy of a rough edit, please send it to me. Love, Ryan. Video Heaven is currently streaming on the Criterion Channel as part of a collection called VHS Forever.
You know, I am a little worried about the nostalgia around VHS. It's not a better format, people. So let's
No,
not get
it's
crazy.
not. The problem is that it was a better distribution model. The video store was.
Oh, you don't have to sell me.
No,
a
yeah,
video
no,
store,
and
so
that's
you're
the
good.
problem.
Yeah.
It's
That's
not a
what
better
about.
format.
It's not about the
I get
format.
it.
It's
Right.
about the
Exactly.
communal experience of going to some place and actually being able to look at another person and go, do you think this is interesting?
Yeah, we
Well,
we
it's-
had the
It's
the
like your
best mom
ability.
and pops right near us, man. You remember Act
Of
One
course I
Video.
do. Your
My
mom
mother used to
worked
work
at
there.
it, and I
Yeah.
got all my wrestling and Godzilla there. But the point was that
Someone spoiled identity there.
no, that actually was a Hollywood Video or
Hollywood
one of those
Video,
crap
yeah.
ones. But I think it was a video gallery, unfortunately.
Or was it Video
movie gallery?
Galaxy?
Movie gallery.
Movie gallery, yes.
My point is that much like a library, you can wander around a video store and stumble and discover a movie you never have. I think even in a
Yes.
way that just scrolling on streaming, it just isn't the same.
Yeah, you don't
We
go
tried
back
it.
to like the same thing when you're scrolling
when
as much.
streaming came out, 90% of the movies I picked were because I recognized the
Hmm.
VHS cover and I always wanted to rent them and never could. So streaming was very exciting when it first came out. For that
I looked at that
reason.
Masters of the Universe cover a lot and never picked it up.
Yeah, no, frankly, this is why I watched the movie on streaming, because I remembered the cover from it being in video stores.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have Ben. You send us on home.
I'll put the walk-emendations on hold this week. There's still 9 or 10 on my list that I want to get to, though. But this is a bit of a busy few weeks for me here. Yeah, 9 or 10 more. Buckle up. However, this does give me the opportunity to recommend a new release. I think this year has been kind of lame so far, where there's only 2 films I'd watch again, Send Help, and today's Ready or Not To, Here I Come. Now, I enjoyed the first Samara Weaving starring vehicle, and she's back and bloodier than ever. If you haven't seen the first, it's also well worth a watch, but it ends with a twist that I won't spoil. Just suffice to say, this second film owns that twist in all the right ways. We have a new cast of spoiled rich people playing hide and seek with Grace, but this time the stakes are higher. Instead of control of the company, it turns out the rich people get control of the world, and as they have pacts with one another to control everything. Helping Grace is her sister Faith. Yeah, my parents named me after biblical stuff too, so I feel their pain. And Catherine Newton is a welcome addition here. More of her in every film, please. Giving Samara Weaving someone to bounce off of more. And like true siblings, they do a great amount of bickering as the rich people try and assassinate them. Also, Elijah Wood is so good in this film as the lawyer who knows about all the pacts and bylaws and of the games. He also knows exactly what kind of movie he's in, as does pretty much everyone here. It's bloody, it's comedic and fun. People think I hate fun movies for some reason, but they're wrong. I love fun movies. They just have to stay within their lanes with the suspension of disbelief. And these 2 movies do that so very well.
He said stay in their lane too.
And it's amazing that it's been 7 years since the first one, and it picks up literally seconds after the first one ends, and you wouldn't be able to tell just by watching it.
Yeah.
I was like Quantum of Solace.
And of course, Ben says he likes fun movies, but he also liked Masters of the Universe. And with that, we are all out of show.
I'm okay with it.
But you're on record forever now, Ben. Forever now. I'll be like, I don't care how many bad performances or bad stories there are in it. Ben's letting it slide. But with that, we are all out of the show. But we want to thank our guest, Case Aiken, for joining us. Thank you so much, Case.
Thank you, as always, for having me on. I really love every time I get to chat with you guys.
We love having you. And once again, your case was not Aiken. And we're going to have you back as well, hopefully for a better movie. But hopefully for more toys, though. The toys part was great. But we're going to have you back, and we hope everyone joins us as well as the Reels of Justice keep turning.
Count it.
Space Camp.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.